Anyway, thanks for coming. Hope you're enjoying the conference so far. My name is Joseph Frotton. Been at Extron about 23 years. I'm one of the regional application specialists now. For those of you who've known me for a long time, I wore many hats at Extron. Technical supervisor, application engineer, senior application engineer, trainer. Now the new title is regional application specialist. Basically, I get sent anywhere they need me to go to talk about whatever they need me to talk about. And how many of you have ever done like some Zoom training lately? All the free training we're doing? Yeah, so I'm one of those trainers now. So you might see me on the docket. If you want to get some training, it's like out until September. So we're trying to move those back. Anyway, well, welcome. I appreciate it. A very good friend of mine, Donald Trent, is doing a USB-C sort of technical deep dive. He did it this morning at 9. Any of you sat in that? He's going to do it again on Thursday. So it might go along with this because I'm not going to be talking about exactly how USB works and all the tiers and the hubs and all of that. He does a great job with that. This one's more about applications, right? This is more about how are we going to manage this USB-C? It's kind of like the new HDMI, right? It started with 1.0, 1.4. How much bandwidth can I get on US or HDMI? Now it's USB. So that's where we are. I like to think of it in two ways. There's requirements by your provost, by whomever is deciding on the technology in the rooms. How many of you actually create that design and decide this is what I think we're going to do? I think we're really all professionals now since the pandemic. We've thrown, how many owl cameras went in, how many different types of things went in. We put microphones on desks. We did as much as we could. And then they said, oh, in K-12 it was worse. Not only do we have to have all this, I'm going to put plexiglass between everybody and then, can you hear me now? Right? So we went through all of that. Now we need to get back into it. I think what was cool, and sorry if I ramble sometimes, I think what was cool is it kind of pushed us all toward it. Right? A lot of us said, yeah, we'll probably get to that. Nobody uses cameras in the rooms. Oh, there's a whole thing about the instructors don't want to get recorded. It pushed everyone over that edge. You just had to. There was no other way around it. Now that we're there, how can we make it better? Right? So everybody has ideas on how to do it. There are always certain requirements, right? High-end conferencing spaces, you probably have a few of those on campus. Cameras, how many of you have cameras in just about every room now? Right? A lot, right? But what are some of the considerations we have to think about? Can you hear me? And this goes along to BIAMP, right? Can you hear? Can we be heard? Echo cancellation, all of that. Can we just use one button to handle all this? Right? Because if I start adding all sorts of things to this room, and Extron, we've got a touch panel, and then you've got Zoom, and you've got all kinds of things. Now you've got 3 or 4 things you got to worry about. Then you have a touch screen as well. Can I make it easier? Right? So we all try and do that. And can it be switched between laptops, computers? A lot of rooms are Teams rooms, Zoom rooms. But if I walk in with my laptop, so I did this sort of on purpose. I said, look, I know we're going to go in late. Can I just use a computer in the room? That way I don't have to get all my stuff out while he's, graciously putting his stuff away. I didn't want to be on top of him putting my stuff up. So they did. So this would mean this is more hybrid. I could use a laptop, I could use the PC, and I can still get things done. Right? How many of you have Teams room or Zoom rooms where it's the PC in that room and that's it? Maybe you can do Teams with a laptop coming in, but you can't use that camera. That camera is directly connected to this. We all run into that. So we did a great job putting cameras in and microphones, but it's only for one system and not all of them. So we're going to start talking about those things. This is what we strive for. Reliable conferencing. You've got bring your own meeting. I remember bring your own device days. Bring your own meeting is now a thing. But what do we do on the professional stage? We need to use HDMI. How many of you still use HDMI cameras, switching? How about SDI? I love SDI. I always have, right? You can go very far. It does audio and everything. It's a real reliable connector, right? Audio, conferencing, scaling, switching. And then there's the BYOM, which is just, I'm going to bring my laptop and try to do things. Well, this is where I'd like to go. I know we can do this. You can do simple systems, but this is where we'd like to go, right? So it adds value to the rooms. Professional audio would be BIAMP or Sennheiser microphones in the ceiling, whichever you want to use. Cable management, so we're not walking around trying to figure out which cable. I know this is just for a conference, but you have cables all over the floor. Room control, I talked about that. Do you have one control panel, two control panels? How do you make it easier? Different ways to mount things, room scheduling. All of this is what we want to do to add value. So we're going to start with this, since we're talking about USB. It's been around a long time. We've used it for years and years and years. Really was peripheral devices. We all know this. Now it's used for high-end video, right? USB 3.1, 3.0, 3.1 Type-C came out. I was like amazed. Oh my God, you can do 5 gigs? Now we're up to like 40 at 240 watts of power, right? It's really moving fast and furious. That's why I say it's like the new HDMI kind of tiered system. It just keeps growing. But you know what's funny? You still have 5 hubs and 7 tiers. So I had a customer out in Florida. They sent my colleague a design, Theo. I don't know if you know Theo. He's one of the engineers. He's like, will this work? And I said, come in my office, put all the devices up. It was completely a USB design, all USB. Couple HDMI at the beginning for a camera. But I put lines. I go, here's all your hubs, and here's all your tiers. You're out. He's like, it won't work? I said, you can't. You're defined by those. Donald Trent will talk about those if you go on Thursday. You only have so many hubs. You only have so many tiers. And what's cool about certain manufacturers, we will, and others do this, every piece of equipment that have USB on it will tell you exactly how many it takes up. If you use this device, it's 2 hubs. You're already past, you're almost at 5, right? You know that? You got to be careful with that. Okay, power delivery is a thing. How much power do we need to keep my laptop running? What's the average power? Like 90 watts? We're not trying to charge it. We just want to go for an hour without having to plug it in. 60 watts? Those are good questions. I'd like to know. And data transfer. When we hit the 5 gig mark, that was 1080p 60. I can do 1080p 60, 444 with 8-bit color down USB. Why, yes, you can. And then you got into 4K 30 and 4K 60. And how many of you have USB 4? Well, anybody who has a Mac already has this, but how many of you are using USB 4 Thunderbolt devices, cameras? Anything out there yet? I haven't seen anything. Let me know. However, all of your Macs and things, they're already doing that. So that's 40 gigs. That's 8K. What this does for a Mac and others, I think some Microsoft laptops will do this. When you have 40 gigs, that's 2 4K 60 displays like PCIe connections. Full 4K 60 or 1 8K. Like I said, it's not going to be that technical, but this is just the progression. One thing you have to really look at is the power delivery. Not everything delivers power. It may be within the spec of USB 1.2, 3.1, 3.2, but the power delivery is a different specification. That's why some things will give you 120 watts, some will give you 60 watts, 90 watts, 240. You have to really keep an eye on this. So why do I bring this up? It's really not to teach you all about USB. It's when you start designing things, take a look at it. Just like anything. Will this work with this? What's the end resolution for everything? And how am I going to power it? So just keep an eye on these things. It's really all I'm trying to get you to look at. Simple designs, power delivery, DisplayPort alt mode, USB data back and forth. These are the primary things you have to think about. How many of you have developed an all USB solution? I mean, it's great if you could. All right. How many of you use USB cameras mounted on the wall? Like on the back? I know you do. How do you get that USB all the way to the front?
2.0 right now. We converted.
There you go. Right? What do you convert it to?
Well, we use Cat 6.
I understand. So you're using a transfer system, a transmitter receiver pair. 100%. We have fiber optic ones that go very, very far. Okay. USB-C, this connector changed. What did it do? It revolutionized it. I still get it halfway wrong on a USB-A connection. I still get it to this day. I don't even know if, do I look for this insignia? Do I look at the 2 little dots? Which way is it? I don't know. But this can go either way. And if you stop by Atlona, because he was showing me and I want to buy it, he'll show you on this little thing he bought where you turn it and it lights up all the different pins. So you know how it's doing this. It reverses itself and says, oh, we should go on these pins. Oh, you reversed it? Okay, very cool. So it's reversible. That's the biggest thing. Here's another thing. 5 gig and 10 gig only use one data line each. How is that possible? Did they get super speed 10 gig out of 5 gig? It was all the encoding. It was all in the background. I don't know if you understand 8-bit, 10-bit encoding versus 128, 132-bit encoding. It's how to get an 8-bit, like a 1 byte, 8 bits, and convert it to 10 bits so that it all works well. Anyway, they went from 8-bit, 10-bit to 128, 132-bit, and they were able to get 10 gigabits all of a sudden out of it. Now we're here, 20, 4K. Power capacities, almost, when USB-C first came out, 5 volt, 3 amps. Now we're up to 48 volt, 5 amps, max power, 240 watts. All right, so that's basically all I have for the USB part of it. Because we can go for an hour and a half on how it all works. But really, I just want you to be knowledgeable that you're going to have to know that in order to move this forward. Okay? So how do I bring my own meeting? There's a lot of people out here that work in this space, and they're all exhibitors, and they're all here. It could be simple, but you have to choose the platform. You have to figure out if it's going to be Lenovo, Poly. They got to work together. But it's a very simple solution. It's something like this. So what I'm going to do here is that's going to be my compute, right? I'm going to walk in with my laptop. What is this? Well, it's one of our docks, but it takes away the operating system of a dock. It takes away all of that. Basically, you put in, whether it's alt mode, 4K 30 single super speed or 4K 60, you can flip this switch, put in your USB directly from your laptop, and it will simply output HDMI. It also has 3, let's get a little hub in it, so this counts as 1 hub, okay? Using these type of AV devices, and look, I know we recorded, but find something that works. Could be Extron, could be whomever you have your relationships with now at this point. However, this is where AV infrastructure comes into play to make these more professional, easier to use for the user. Everything's just like right there. I just plug right here. Oh, and it works? Yes, it just works. So this supplies 60 watts of power, also converts it to HDMI, and gives you USB. All right, so that adds that more complexity to make it more simple for the user. All right, so say I have, my Logitech meetup. How many of you have this? Set up underneath the display, and you've got your room PC, whichever it is, and then you've got your touch screen. Well, what we can do is, this is where I was saying, what if I want to bring in more things? So this is the Zoom room PC, and I walked in with that. I walked in with my laptop, and I've got all my Zoom and Teams on it. I want to use that. If we do it correctly, with certain switchers and scalers and things like that, you can bring whatever you'd like and use all the USB from everything to now be used with your laptop. Okay? So switchers like this manage not only HDMI switching, USB-C switching, but also USB 2 switching as well, and USB 3. So now my laptop can use Zoom, or it can even be Teams if it wanted to be. Didn't matter. So here's a more dynamic space. Huddle rooms, things like that. I don't want to get too mired into this whole big imagery, but this is just a USB switcher. It has no video, right? So there's your camera and speaker. We're sending HDMI directly to the TV, and we're using simple switching so that we can use all of these peripheral devices and switch them between this computer and the laptop. So another way to do it. This one's easier. It's just a USB side. We're using the TV or display to be the switcher. So that may be less expensive, easier for you to use. You just have to make sure that the display can switch to 2 inputs. Does this make sense? I'm just trying to give ideas. That's all this is. Things that you want to think about when going down this road. All right. Extron has a lot of partnerships with all of these different companies, and a few more that didn't make the slide. So if you go on our website at any time and you type in the search any one of these, we have landing pages on just how we work with them. Zoom and Microsoft Teams is great to work with, but as the manufacturer of that, they dictate how we all work with them. Like Zoom may work well with other partners, or they might work similarly with us with different caveats. Teams is the same way. We're all trying to work together, right? But it's really about what they're willing to allow us to use. So here's a Teams room. How many of you have Teams rooms? Okay. I'll put a control processor in there. Everybody's seen control processors, whether ours or others. These do a lot of different, this does a lot of work. It switches your switcher, turns the lights on, does whatever you'd like it to do. So here's your Teams room environment. And this could be any one of your flavor of, touch panel. That's just a zoomed in. Depending on what it is, depending on what you're using, we have ways to get the control processor that's already probably in the system. If it's not, maybe we'll think about putting one in, to go through here and actually manipulate these pages. Different pages that weren't there before are now being served up by our control processors. That's how we get all of this to work. We work with them to say, look, you show us what you're doing, and if you allow us to add control in here, and we'll put a little icon in there, and we'll open up control, and there you go. Now from different pages that weren't there before, you don't need two panels. You don't need a button panel over here to turn the projector on or TVs on or anything, and then your Teams or your Zoom or whichever. So we've worked with them for years now to make this more streamlined for you. So if this is something you're thinking about, we've been doing it. So from one place, you have to, like Teams, you have to add an MSI file to it. Zoom, there's a link license for Zoom. Everyone's a little different. They're not all the same. Just talk to us and we'll show you how to do it. Lighting control. And we also have like camera controls as well. Different pages that weren't there before. So now you can control your cameras and everything all from the same Teams room that you started with. Okay? Then you hit close, you go back, and you're done. How many of you knew we did this? Very good. Is it because you use it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good.
We're installing this summer.
Very good. I'm glad. I was just out at Mesa Community College 2 weeks ago.
We'll be talking.
What's that?
We'll be talking.
You got it. Talk to any one of us. Talk to Troy. How many of you know Troy Barron, Southwest? He is fabulous. I have to say that because he's bigger than me. If he sees the recording, I didn't say he was fabulous. You go, Joseph. Okay. So this is a different view of it. So you've got a Poly TC8, same idea, right? This is running the show. I've got an HDMI going up through here so that my laptop goes up to my display. I can still add another processor with enhanced features. This has link license on it. See, it doesn't have an MSI file that goes in a Teams room. With this particular one, we had a link license. Now it all works together. Same thing. Brings up pages for control. So, what are the major things? You guys, how many of you use Zoom? Like, oh, yeah. Teams? Anything else?
Google Meet.
Google, yeah? Good. I like that.
It's okay.
What's that? Discord. Oh, that's like open, right? Anybody can get on. There's not really a lot of security on what somebody says or anything, but it's good. I'm coming from like the esports side of things. That's how they communicate. All right, that's how the kids communicate. All right, same thing. You'll get a little settings here, and then all of a sudden you're doing the same thing. The laptop's coming through. You slide that. It's just kind of showing you how to do it. Each one's a little different, but it's kind of cool. And now your USB, and that becomes your compute module. And everything's working out right now that I just walked in with my laptop, and because you have a processor in here, that becomes a compute. Now that becomes your head of the system, and everything's working out right. All right. I'm going really fast. I mean, I only had a few. Oh, Donald. So that's Donald Trent at Lona. He has like an hour and a half on USB. If you haven't seen it, it's like tomorrow, Thursday. I don't want you to miss other things. But you know he used to work for Extron? He was one of the best engineers we had. I cried when he left. Anyway, Donald Trent, everybody. He goes through USB further than I will. Sort of like esports, this is just one example. This is how can I get USB further than from here to there, right? Everybody has that question. Fiber optics is one. We do this where you have, say you have a esports, this is like a simplified version. So maybe it's not that type of camera. Maybe it's a camera mounted on a tripod and it's watching the whole team. I can send it over fiber optics, which is a lot further than you can with just an extended cable. We have cables now that'll go 65 feet. USB A to C, it'll go 65 feet. It's a unidirectional, it's like fiber optic inside of it. or use fiber transmitters, receivers. How many use fiber as a transmission method, right? It's been around forever. I remember when I was in college, I actually had to sand it and cleave it and do all that. Now you just use index matching gel and the whole thing works. All right, so there's 3 different computers, and what they're doing here is they're using any one of those 3 can see what any of the stations are doing because you have a USB switcher in the middle. So everything's going across, use a USB switcher, and that's how you do it. So outside of fiber optics, what's another thing we like to do? Put everything on the network. How many of you have things on the network? Like not just computers, but video. How many are doing video over IP? How are you doing it? Very good. How's it working out? Pretty well?
Very well.
Yep, that's good. I mean, once people figured out how to do it, it's a game changer, right? Anybody using anything else?
Yeah.
Are you using it? Yeah. Very good. How's it working out for you?
Great.
Wonderful. It's all sort of the same idea, but we all do it differently, right? Everyone has their own codec. Some people buy their codec, some people have their own codec. We made our own. Either way, it's just another way to get USB across. So we've got a whole line of network AV products. The 500 series line, if you ever want to remember that, the 500 series line is what we use to send USB across. So you don't have to go point to point with AV and USB. It's a whole large KVM matrix. You can go USB from any point to any other points, and you can send video from any point to any point. So this is just removing all the video and just really talking about the Ethernet connection, all 16 different computers with their USB access cards and all sorts of things, all the way to the different meeting rooms where you have the actual touch display. This is your sort of mouse, right? This is your human interface device, and it's talking to that computer that could be anywhere in that building. It could be an IDF closet downstairs. But this becomes a way to move USB around, as well as video, of course. Collaboration systems. Here's another one where we can probably use 2 different computers in a rack somewhere. Here's all of your USB devices. However, I want to be able to decide on the fly, am I going to use Zoom today? Or am I going to use Teams? And by doing that, it gives the user much more flexibility. Whether it be a laptop coming in or whether it just be a touch panel in the room and running everything, and all of the USB, as well as the video and things like that, are being run back and forth to the IDF closet. Totally different way of thinking about things. Not everybody's going to do it. But you know, if we don't think outside the box sometimes, trying to get things around the campus can be tough, right? Even though most of our day is just trying to get everything inside the room to work, right? So flexible control. I've got 2 laptops, and the same idea applies. I can change this on the fly to be a Zoom room or a Teams room with a control system. And what's kind of cool with this is we have small touch panels. You don't really need them to work with those, but you can if you want. If you want to make it switching easier, because we're actually switching the display from one input. Well, okay, I want to use Teams in here. I want to use the laptop. Any way you'd like. There's all sorts of ways to do this. Sometimes you don't want to have too many things on a lectern, right? It gets a little crowded. So these are some of the concerns or things we want to think about when we're building these AV designs. It's not always about USB-C, but audio. How big is audio now a concern in the rooms, right? Getting it in, using a DSP processor. That was I was sitting in the back most of the time. I wasn't hurrying him because I was like totally amazed. Because I'm not the best audio engineer at Extron, but I love open format DSPs. They're just great. Okay, so audio, room scheduling. How many of you use room scheduling? A lot of people. It's helpful, right? Do you think after you put them in, it's helpful, or do you think it's like, well, okay, it's here now? I mean, either way. The second, it's kind of there now. You know what's funny is I'm talking with and I don't want to say names, it's out in Virginia. They called me and said, Joseph, we've got 87 of your panels, and they want to switch us from Microsoft 365 to Course Dog. How many of you use Course Dog or ever heard of it? It's a registrar type thing. Have you heard it? I've never heard of it before. I found out last week this word. I'm like, course, dog, are you kidding me? Anyway, I'm joking. They don't know what to do with them because we don't work with them. And it will take us at least 6 months to figure them out. And they're such a small entity. And like, what do I do with them? Well, we're trying to figure out if they can send them in and we'll just change them over to become touch panels, right? But they said, yeah, but we don't need that many touch panels. What can you do for them? I go, okay, here we go. All right, we'll do whatever we got to do. Cable management is some things we have to work on. Room control, whether it be one of our touch panels or using the things you're already using for Teams and Zoom. These are all things you should be concerned about, not just, what are the sources? How many of you still want to decide whether we have a doc cam in here or not? You know what I mean? Anyway, I told you it was going to be fast. That's why I didn't mind. He could have kept going. They truncated my presentation, but maybe I just talked too fast. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Oh, well, anything. Because I know, Brad, you're going to come up with something. Anything? See, I'm right in the middle of breakfast and lunch, so I'm okay. If I was like 2 hours after lunch, I'd be in trouble. Everybody would be like, oh, what'd you say? But anyway, that's all I have. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it started getting some juices flowing. And if you have any questions, Brian is sitting out there. Brian is our new regional person for Pacific Northwest. If you're in Idaho, that's still Anthony Del Toro. How many people know Anthony? If you know Anthony, you'll never forget Anthony. I sat next to him for 10 years. I love him. And then when I moved into an office, I missed him. I would sit there and go, dude, you gotta keep your mouth quiet. Use your inside voice. And then when I got an office, I was like, I heard him talking out there. I'm like, I remember. Oh, you have to know the guy. He's like 12, ask Jeremy how many, was that Jeremy who was talking? Yeah. Ask Jeremy, the power factor of decibels. He was way up there. All right, anyway, that's all I've got. Don't want to keep you. I know you've got other things to do, and we're here tomorrow as well if you have any questions. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.